around a week ago, we found out that Rekkles was going to be the official substitute for T1 at the 2024 World Championships this year, and that instantly got a lot of people thinking. It got a lot of Western fans huffing on that copium, wondering whether or not Rekkles was actually going to get to play in a match, whether Rekkles was going to become a world champion, whether Rekkles was going to get a world skin. All different kinds of discussion and ideas and theory crafting was going on, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about why T1 even decided to bring Rekkles in the first place and what this thing could look like. I am Germ, the host of Sheep Esports here on YouTube, and of course, as always, our offseason and Worlds coverage is powered by Holy. You guys should definitely check out that first link in the description below and use code SE5 to get a nice little discount on Holy Energy. Any energy drinks that are healthier than the competition sounds really great to me. Definitely check them out. With that being said, let's get right into this video today. So like I said, we got this on September 18th, about 10 or 11 days ago, this breaking from Sheep Esports on Twitter, revealed by LOL Esports, obviously with the official roster announcements. Rekkles will be the substitute player for T1 at Worlds, as revealed by LOL Esports. And again, you can see here in the comments, imagine Rekkles winning Worlds like this. People saying it's the perfect script. Come on, T1, saying to give Rekkles a chance to at least sub him in for one match. Again, a ton of people saying, hey, maybe you'll get a chance to play some scrub team. Maybe you'll get a chance to play some emerging region team. Maybe you'll play against, I don't know, NA or whatever people are saying. And some match that T1 should be a dominant, heavy favorite in. And why not sub in Rekkles? And also some people saying, oh, it makes sense that they're bringing Rekkles for X, Y, and Z reason. Some people saying, hey, Rekkles plays multiple positions, so why wouldn't you bring him? That way, if something happens to your AD carry or your support, Rekkles can actually sub in and hopefully be, able to fill that gap, because obviously we don't think anything's going to happen. I'm sure T1, who is a very strong team, they're the defending world champions. They have pretty strong and competent players at every single position. They're probably going to be fine, but every once in a while you have an injury happen, you have an illness happen, you have something crazy happen, and having Rekkles there will be great. Obviously, with Worlds being in Europe as well, not only is Rekkles European, so he's going to help with media and help with connections and know what's going on and just be a face that's familiar to the scene and area, but also obviously it's just Rekkles' home. He's not going to have to worry about visa issues or traveling constraints or anything like that. It's going to be one less thing for T1 to worry about. There's just so many different reasons why people were saying perhaps T1 was going to bring Rekkles to Worlds. And again, they're saying, hey, just let him play in one match, or will he be able to play in one match, or would this even make sense? And is this going to be his ticket to becoming a World Championship? But I do think one thing people need to remember is that we do have this Swiss format this year at Worlds. Again, the Swiss stage, where how this thing works is it's this like bracket that you work your way down. Obviously, you play teams in the first stage, and then if you're 1-0, you go this way. If you're 0-1, you go this way. And then eventually you keep playing teams that have the same record as you, and eventually the teams with 3 wins move on, and the teams that have 3 losses are eliminated. So in previous World formats where you had the group stage, you could actually have some matches where you already had your group locked up, you already had the 1 seed locked up, you had literally an almost entirely meaningless match, and in those games, we might get some fun drafts, we might get some substitute players, you might get whatever, but at this year's Worlds, there are no meaningless games. Really, every individual game is honestly more meaningful and more impactful than ever. You can't take a game off, and you might even be playing against an emerging region or whatever, but guess what? Upsets happen, and you don't want to be putting yourself in a position to fail or a position to get knocked out during the Swiss stage and not even make it and move on, especially when you're T1, you're in this lower division of the drawing because obviously you're the LCK 4 seed, so things are going to be even a little bit more difficult. Things are going to be a little bit harder, but we also did get some word from T1 themselves about what's actually going on with the Rekkles situation. That's what made me want to make this video, because we got some insight into why exactly T1 selected Rekkles as their substitute. Again, there was a ton of speculation and a ton of people hoping and whatever, but we did get this Reddit thread. It was the LCK Q&A session before Worlds 2024. Faker talking about how he doesn't usually watch World music videos, but he likes Linkin Park's music. So whatever. Owner talking about how he watched a music video and he didn't think it looked like him, but again, we do get down to a little part about Rekkles here. They ask Coma, you've included Rekkles in the roster. What's the reason behind this, and how do you feel about entering Worlds together with him? Coma says, our 5 players have been practicing together, and about him being our 6th man, it's because it was mandatory. However, we've only practiced as 5 this year, so it's a little hard to answer regarding the decision for 6th man now. Now, obviously, he is being very blunt and straightforward here, which is a little bit interesting. Obviously, I know some people said this in the comments and stuff as well. Korean fans are usually known for being, like pretty delicate or very respectful. And this just kind of seems like we had to bring Rekkles, or we had to bring somebody, so we just kind of randomly decided to pick Rekkles or whatever, rather than, so many ways you could have spun this in a positive light. You could have been like, he's a veteran. He's been to Worlds a bunch of times before. We think he's going to help with, veteran leadership, or he'll be able to help us with practice or training or draft prep or whatever. Or we think Rekkles is a really talented player. Why wouldn't we want to bring him? He literally just is like, I don't know. We had to bring a 6-man 3-ring. So that does feel a little bit bad. That does feel a little bit dismissive of even some of the intangible stuff that I think Rekkles can actually bring. I actually do think there's a lot of things that Rekkles could help your team with at Worlds. Again, with his veteran experience and leadership, and he's been here a million times before, and he's had success at Worlds before previously as well. Obviously, he's not T1 level of anything, but I do think there's things that have been good. Faker did chime in here and say, for me, ever since Rekkles joined our academy team, I found it intriguing, and I think it's worthy of respect. So now that we're going to Europe together, I think we'll get good influence, which, again, that seems like a much more reasonable and rational response to me. And I would think if you got some kind of weird response, it wouldn't necessarily be from your head coach, who's supposed to be like this, mature figurehead leadership, blah, 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 whatever. But obviously it does seem here like T1 has almost no plans of giving Rekkles a chance to play or anything like that. Again, he just says, hey, we're practicing together as 5. We have, really no use for this 6th man. I think a lot of people probably think it's pretty stupid overall, especially when we've seen recently like the scout drama and controversy. It's like, you have an official substitute on your roster, but guess what? If something happens to one of your main players, you're not even forced to use that substitute. You can get emergency substitutes and all this stuff. And League of Legends is a game in general where, we've seen 6-man rosters work in the past, but not really a ton throughout the history of it. And fans, and I know people in the scene and stuff, have theorized about how you could maybe utilize substitutes a little bit more, a little bit better, but we have not really seen that ever happen all that much in League of Legends. Like I said, there's a couple instances here and there. So all in all, again, I do kind of tend to agree with Coma here that the 6th man stuff does seem a little bit stupid. It seems a little bit arbitrary that people actually have to pick a sub and bring a sub, especially when players only play one single position. So how do you even pick, which sub you want to pick for the one potential position that you could end up needing? I don't know. It seems really weird. It does seem kind of dumb, but I was a little bit surprised by this answer. But like I said, it doesn't really seem like T1 sees much use actually from bringing Rekkles to Worlds, which is a little bit unfortunate. It doesn't really seem like they have a plan to get him into a game or get him a World skin. But still, guess what, Western fans, if T1 does win Worlds, we are still going to say that Rekkles is a world champion. Even if he doesn't play in a game or whatever, he is on this roster. He is helping them behind the scenes. And I really do think everything you do, even if you just help them a little bit in drafts or a little bit in prep, or even just bring good vibes and leadership, whatever, I do think that stuff adds up. I do think that stuff actually matters. Obviously, it's a stretch and kind of a reach and stuff like that. I also did think there were some interesting things coming out of this as well. I know a lot of people really love those world skins, talking about if Rekkles is going to get a world skin or whatever. But they did ask, if you win Worlds, which champion would you choose for your skin? So I wanted to look at this real quick. Peanut said he would choose Vi. Doran said he'll have to decide at that time. Keen says he'll pick whatever meta champion he likes the most. Canyon says he's not sure yet. He'll have to decide after the matches. Showmaker said he would like Syndra. Lucid said he would make a Vi skin since he used her a lot this year. Owner said he's considering Viego and Xin Zhao, but since they already have that Viego skin, he'd probably go with Xin Zhao. And Faker says he would choose a champion that the fans loved. Now, obviously, we know that Rekkles has been playing support this year, and Keria is the man for T1, so that also really diminishes the chances of Rekkles actually getting to sub in and play. According to Sheep Esports stats, they had Keria ranked as the 3rd best support in LCK during the LCK summer split, and the 10th best player in the LCK overall. So even though this hasn't necessarily been Keria's best year, obviously there's been times where he's looked like one of the best players in the entire LCK, for sure the best support. Maybe not so much this year, still a very, very strong player though. So it's not like, Keria is going to suck and they're going to need Rekkles to come in and save the day. But overall, Rekkles, here has been some of his stats. For the LCK, 2 of the the Challengers League splits that he did play. 41% win rate for him and T1 Esports Academy in the spring, and a 50% win rate for them in the summer. Obviously he's always been a strong KDA player. Looking at his champion pool overall, most played champion throughout this year has been Renata Glask with just a 47% win rate. But then, funny enough, obviously getting a marksman in there with Senna having a 73% win rate on her. Again, this is just Rekkles' very first split with playing support. but it's also his first split, in Korea and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's a ton of adjustments going on. It's going to be very interesting to see how Rekkles develops as a support over time. If T1 brings him back, where he's going to end up in the future. If he ever swaps back to AD carry, what's going on? But whether or not Rekkles is going to be playing at Worlds, to me, it seems like no. Even though I do really like the idea and I like where fans' heads are at talking about, Rekkles potentially getting to play in a match and getting a World skin, which I would absolutely love to see. But yeah, it looks like Coma is not really considering throwing this man down in the bot lane at either role at this time, barring some kind of absolute disaster or crisis going on. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Of course, check out the first link in the description below for some Holy. Use that discount code, take advantage of that. I would appreciate it a ton. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.